What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's once more your boy, Feeding My Waps. Whoa, take a gander. That's for now. I'm back here again with another video, and before I hop right into this, I want to let you guys know that this video is primarily based on my opinion. However, I do in fact believe that the points that I make are valid, and I am very excited to also hear your opinions on who you believe is the most tragic legend in the Apex games. However, in this case, I, Feed My Waps, I am here to passionately explain to you all why Mirage is the most tragic legend currently in Apex Legends, and I'm sure you guys will probably agree with me by the end of this video. Also, excuse my voice. I had a little cold for like the past maybe 3 days, so my voice is a little off. I do really apologize about that. Also, I want to thank you guys for, I think right now as I speak, I'm probably at like exactly 100 subscribers, so that shit, like, you know, it fucking stokes me. Like, I'm like super like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Thank you guys for that. Hopefully fucking climbs to that. Can we hit 1,000? I don't know. Next milestone is 200, but yeah, you know, I'm pretty excited about that. Anyways, without further ado, let's hop right into the video. As we all know, the Apex games consist of a lot of interesting characters that all seem to have their own interesting origins and motives that keep them competing. It was by no mistake that they seem to compete at such a high caliber, since they all needed to have exceptional skill and overall combat effectiveness to even be considered as a competitor in the Apex games. Their combat effectiveness was only further complemented by the uniqueness of their arsenal and fighting style, thus making them more complex as characters as to why they choose to fight and use the things that they use. With this being said, questions were fostered and questions were answered, and we got several videos and sources of the origins of each and every legend. After reviewing every character's origins to the best of my ability, it is safe to say that most of the legends have a tragic backstory, while a few seem to not really have a tragic backstory at all, but seem to just be there for the thrill of it. Then I wondered, damn, many of these backstories are pretty sad, but which one would truly take the cake of being the most tragic? How affected are the legends after their origins, and are they really over what happened to them? Several of them had relatively similar tragic experiences, such as the loss of loved ones and possessions they held so dearly get taken away from them, so simply choosing from the bunch was no easy task. Instead, what I did was to single them out further by not only considering the unfortunate events that happened to them, but by also comparing the longevity of their problems, and most importantly, the way they carried themselves as a person, legend, after what happened to them. To start off, I'm going to cross off these legends off the list, and for the convenience of the audience, I'm going to go ahead and stop sounding like a fucking robot and keep it very simple and condensed for you guys. So without further ado, here are the legends I decided to cross off the list with a quick explanation why. Gibraltar. Reason being, he did not necessarily lose any loved ones and just had the aspirations of helping people due to a more selfish and naive mistake that caused his father to lose an arm. Basically some teenager bullshit, so instantly he's off the list, plus no personality complexity was developed after the experience. Lifeline. Reason being, she did not lose anyone of significance. I was born to parents who were wealthy war profiteers, so her life, if anything, wouldn't be half as bad as the other legends, and her motives were to aid those in need, basically humanitarian stuff, and solely fights in the Apex games to fund those in need. Octane. Reason being, another wealth-born legend with perhaps the least tragic backstory of all. All of his struggles were sought after and for one sole purpose. He was bored. He explicitly stated he only joined the games for fun and has absolutely no regard for any close relatives of such. Still a funny legend at least. Fuse. Reason being, he was a mercenary who enjoyed scrounging up his war-torn planet with his best friend Mad Maggie. Although he came from a rather rough planet, he enjoyed fighting in blood sports already and aspired to be in the Apex games for an even bigger spotlight. He got crossed off the list since he didn't really suffer from anything too tragic, and he even ditched his best friend, which is Maggie, to join the Apex games for glory, which is honestly kind of selfish. Seer. Reason being, he did not suffer any casualties from loved ones and was loved unconditionally from two very abnormally supportive parents, and eventually became the hero of the people, yada yada yada, and all fights in the games to rep where he came from. A little cliche, but I'm cutting it to the chase, so this alone marks him off the list for being a more bland legend. Rampart. Reason being, it has been stated for Rampart to have lost no one of significant value except for her shop. So when she lost that, she joined the games. Since a more materialistic approach, and for time's sake, she will also be off the list. Wraith. Reason being, she might act in a very feeble manner, but according to her backstory, she was the cause for her being the way she is now, since she volunteered herself to be part of her own experiment with Rift technologies, like a guinea pig. It was not stated she lost anything else besides the memories of who she used to be, which is why she now fights in the games with the purpose of uncovering who she used to be, which in comparison to other legends is some weak ass shit. Watson. Reason being, according to the lore, she did not have anywhere near a rough life the way the other legends have, but did suffer a loss of her father who she loved dearly and worked alongside engineering the Apex games. The reason for eliminations off the list, however, was the fact that her and her father were on good terms, and she was only slightly grieved because he was gone, but during the games after the competitors invited her and said they're basically her new family. The point is, her father knew all of her accomplishments, but it was not necessarily a tragic experience when he died. With that being said, we are down 8 legends out of 18 who were crossed off the list, so now the remaining 10 legends left would be Valkyrie, Revenant, Pathfinder, Loba, Mirage, Horizon, Crypto, Caustic, Bloodhound, and Bangalore. There is now the more trickier part of the list. However, in order for me to cut to the chase on who really is the most tragic legend, I am not going to cross out the next legends by judging them based on whether or not their problems have already been resolved, the way they are as a persona, or morally good, the amount of losses they suffered, the way they handle and react to their problems, and the amount of suffering they actually still face due to their experiences, which I said in the beginning of the video when I was talking about the longevity of their problems. With this being so, here are the next legends who will be crossed off with the short reason why. Valkyrie. Reason being, she lost her father, who was Viper, who she looked up to a lot at a very young age. However, carried out most of her life doing relatively bad deeds as a smuggler of such, but was hellbent on finding the man who basically put her father in harm's way. But once she tracked down and found Cuban Bliss for revenge, Bliss managed to convince her by talking highly of her father as a soldier, and with that, she spared him, since that was basically closure for her. Her joining the games was now just to honor her father, so this marks her off the list since she no longer actually suffers for her father's loss. Caustic. Reason being, he shows signs of a psychopath based on the fascination with his creations of biochemical weapons and basically murdering others with it. However, the reason why I kept him this high up on the list was because he was framed for murdering a certain scientist, but turns out there's a deeper story behind that possibly proving his innocence. Due to the lack of details and his unnerving character, I crossed him off the list. Bloodhound. Reason being, he had one of the most amazing stories of the Outlands videos with a relatively sad backstory, but the reason why I had to make a sacrifice and cross him off the list was because of his closure. He did not show too much empathy when his parents died in a Swift facility meltdown accident, but did when his uncle Arthur died. But think about the fact that he's actually avenged his uncle already by killing the beast in a new traditional way and leads his clan with the new and old ways of going about, and honors his uncle with a little birdie named after him. So it is safe to say he did not suffer from a prolonged grief to the next legends I'm going to present to you. Bangalore. Reason being, she was born into a military family and only really suffered a significant loss was during the whole breach in the spaceship when she was on there and her brother got ejected into space and she crash landed on a frontier planet refusing he just saw him die. But now her main motive is to raise money from the Apex Games tool for the pilot to take a very long journey home to whatever remains of her family. The story is relatively bland out but still a little tragic, but when they're compared to the rest, she has to be crossed off the list. Crypto. Reason being, he was abandoned and orphaned at a young age, but ignored that life of a squaler by becoming a computer engineer for a mercenary syndicate with his foster sister. Shit went south for both of them, however, when they were screwing around with the Apex Games and found an algorithm that can accurately predict the next champion of the games. It got the wrong attention of some shady group, kidnapped his foster sister and framed him for her murder, and he had to basically get rid of his identity and disrupted it, hacked the games, and join it himself. It was indeed tragic, however it was easily preventable, so his problems were just sought after and deserved, so his lack of innocence burned him out of a spot as a truly tragic legend. Pathfinder. Reason being, I understand this may piss some people off, but you have to understand that in the end of the day, he is just a fucking robot. The twist with his backstory is the fact that his backstory was sad and tragic mainly to us, but to him it was not nowhere near as bad as it was for us. I felt like tearing up to his backstory too, but for the sake of this list, I did state that in order for a legend to truly be tragic, he must have to actually suffer for an extended amount of time, and the fact that he's a robot does not do justice for him. He's such a sweet robot though, but in the end of the day, he did get closure because he finally found out who created him. So problem wise, the longevity of his issues came to an end already, so his artificial suffering would not amount to the last remaining 4 legends. Okay, now we are down to the 4 final legends. It was a little tough for me to pick the truly tragic legend out of the 4, but when I dove deeper into the lore, I went as far as to use real life examples and relativity. Choosing the most tragic legend was a fucking cakewalk. The next 3 legends who will be eliminated but will have an honorable mention will be the following in order. Loba. Reason being, she had a very tragic experience when she was 9 years old when she witnessed Revenant murder her 2 parents, which of course bumped her high up on the list. However, she will get eliminated solely by these reasons: the content of her character and her family's background. To be fair, her parents were not good people. They gathered their selfish wealth by being con men and cheating their ways of life. Loba's father literally gifted her the black market staff, which literally specializes in stealing shit. Like, who the fuck in their right mind would give a 9-year-old little girl a tool of thievery? The assassinations of her parents were by no mistake, and her life was inevitably endangered since they were bad people. But even after the assassination of her parents, Loba was adopted by a family, but still escaped and started stealing shit, and even explicitly states that being a piece of shit thief was in her blood. This alone says a lot about her character, that even without her tragic experience, she would still amount to being a greedy person. Her suffering was also put to a halt after she did manage to find Revenant, but decided to not kill him for good to prolong his life by suffering, since Revenant only wishes to die. In the end, she got her sweet revenge, but will not get ranked any higher because of the poor display of character that she shows. Anyone with that cliche tragic experience would resort to doing shitty things the way she does. Revenant. Reason being, do not mistake Revenant as a purely evil entity he has not become, because he used to be the best hitman for a mercenary syndicate he used to work for. Hitmen definitely aren't good people, but they aren't necessarily wholly evil either. According to his page, Revenant needed a reason to kill, and since he was a hitman, his contract gave him all the reasons he needed. However, after doing that work for so long, his employers couldn't possibly lose such a valuable asset, so they actually turned him into a simulacrum centuries ago and reset his memory every time he did. It wasn't until he got a glass shard into his neck that messed up his programming, and he saw that he was no longer human. After finding that out, he swore vengeance to everyone responsible for turning him into what he is now, killing out of anger. After so much time has passed, he was certain that everyone responsible for sure has passed, but after finding out that the Apex Games was also ran by Hammond Robotics, he joined up to continue his vengeance. What was more tragic about his story was the fact that he can't actually die, and after living so long, he just wants to die and assisted Lobo finding ways of how to kill himself. But since Lobo found a way for him to suffer and stay alive, his torment continues. This is all very tragic, but ultimately, I had to eliminate him off the list because once more, based off his character, he became purely evil and is no longer the man he used to be. He may be tormented by staying alive, but explicitly states that he enjoys to kill, and that is something he has to do every day, so with that, he honorably goes down off the list. And finally, down to the honorable mention. Horizon. Reason being, she is known to be a very caring and heroic character. And that was tragic about her story was the fact that she was betrayed while trying to save people, make a difference to change the energy crisis her home place was threatened by. The worst part of her story, however, was that she left behind her son Newton, who she promised she would return to when her mission is over. Since she was left stranded on the edge of a black hole, time back at home was significantly a lot faster than it did for her. So she never got to experience the life with her beloved son, and she left knowing she never got to fulfill that promise of coming back to her son. Seeing the story of the Outlines video made it very tough for me. However, I came to a final conclusion based off these facts. The pictures of her son still portrayed him living a long and fulfilled life with his own family, so at least that is something for her to be happy about. And not only so, even after she went back to time, 87 years later after his death, she still has a very possible and lingering choice to go back in time to be with her son. But compared with the final legend, and if we are even considering to go as far as to consider her son as a loss, she is nowhere near the next and truly tragic legend. With all that's been said, the real tragic legend in the Apex Games is Mirage. Let me tell you why. Out of all legends, Mirage is the only one who has suffered the most casualties. If you aren't familiar with his backstory, let me give you a quick recap. Mirage is the youngest of 4 brothers, and as a youngest sibling, he had to perfect the art of fooling around to get attention. One of the only things he actually took seriously was holopilot technology that his mother created since she was a well-renowned engineer. She was known as Evelyn Witt. Since he was still too young to enlist during the Frontier War, he worked with holopilot technology diligently with his mother, and that's when his first major losses kicked in, was when all 3 of his brothers went missing in action. It was also turns out that Mirage had a father as well. Ever since He said this during an event in Apex, hinting he also lost his father.
Y'all ready for the Mirage train? Man, I don't get it. Octane says it's all cool, but no, I say it, I sound like somebody's dad. I miss my dad.
Even after the tragic news, Mirage and his mother continued to work on the technology that brought them even closer together. This already makes 4 casualties Mirage has had to deal with. Most importantly was how his mother took the losses. He built a bond more with his mother than any of his other siblings, so seeing her hurt pained Mirage greatly. And this is hinted even more for one of the reasons why he was hesitant on joining the games. It was even stated that Mirage did not want to risk leaving his own mother childless, and before he threw away the idea of joining the games, his mom gave him a set of customized holo devices and told him to pursue his dreams. He actually came from a more humble background and worked as a bartender in order to provide. And that's where he also heard about the Apex games before joining up himself. That is still not the end of Mirage's torment, because unlike the other legends, his torment is still actively going. After a few seasons, it is revealed by secret audio logs of phone calls between Mirage and his mother, and I'm going to show you them now.
Oi, Mirage, it's Blisk, the Apex Commissioner, and holograms are now banned. Bamboozled you, honey. It's Mom. I got the flowers. I love marigolds. They're from our song. Oh, how beautiful they are. They're for someone's birthday. It says, "Happy birthday" on it. I'll check with my kids. I never know where they are nowadays. I don't have an answer. My brain's just... I think it's a thing. Whatever you call it. I heard this happens. It happens to people. I'm tired. I had a dream the other night. Everyone kept telling me I'm dying, except Uncle Droz. Miss my brother. And Davis. Oh, they always made me laugh. Like Elliot. He's celebrating his 2nd anniversary of competing in the games. Oh, and there's a girl, too. He started to talk about that. Oh, it's cute. He's grown up so fast. I'm looking at an old picture of Elliot when he was 10 or so. And next to him is his brother Elon, and Ricky, and Roger. They're beautiful. Call me when you get the chance. You're gonna go far, my little inchworm. I love you so much. Even with your silly hair. Happy anniversary, honey.
Hey, well, isn't it the most beautiful woman in the world? I mean, I gotta get my good looks from somewhere. How you doing, Mom? Oh, me, I'm perfect, as usual. Hey, get this. They asked me to take over the games for a bit during the holidays. It makes sense, you know, I mean, give the fine people of the Outlands what they want, right? Yeah, that's right, Mom. Yeah, I'm your son. Elliot. Yeah, of course, don't worry. I'll win for you today, always for my #1 fan. Yeah, you go enjoy your pork chops. I know they're your favorite. I'm gonna go win the chance. I'm gonna go be the best. Alright, love you, Mom. Bye. What is REC? Oh no, how long has this been recording?
After these 2 phone calls, it turns out his mother is suffering from either dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Just when you thought things couldn't go further south for such a charming legend, they did. What makes Mirage's situation so much more depressing is the way he still carries himself as a person even when undergoing the problems that he is facing. Even through the torment, he still manages to be the life of the party and puts on a show with his comments, his attitude, and persona. But the real question is it really who he is? I dug even deeper and analyzed his character truly. We all know that Mirage is delusional, narcissistic, and sometimes can break character and become the nervous wreck he truly is. It is actually so sad how he even breaks character when he is left alone. Let me show you the video now.
Alright, last ring's headed our way. On a ring? No big deal, I think. Only 1 squad left. One last squad, on my own. What could possibly go wrong? Only 2 enemy squads remain. I love it. Okay, 2 squads left and I'm on my own. Nothing stressful about this at all.
This goes even further by letting people know that Mirage has a fear of being alone and enjoys having the company of others and serving as a comical relief for those around him, which is something no other legend actually does. I also ask myself, what can make a person delusional? What are a narcissist's biggest fears? As I search for the answers, it turns out one of the main causes of becoming delusional are when a person is undergoing large amounts of stress. And one of the biggest fears for people who like to put on a show and grab the attention the way Mirage does is being forgotten. It is so sad to see that the great irony that pummels Mirage. The only thing he loved and cared about the most in this world was his mother. And now even his own mother is forgetting about him, and soon will leave him all alone as well. His mother does not appear to be dead yet, but as long as she continues in that state, it is very safe to say that Mirage will continue to suffer. I guess you can really say Mirage is a class clown who brightens up the mood for everyone in the class, and then goes home and cries himself to sleep. Like, that is some sad shit if you ask me. For now, the Apex Legends story continues, but as far as I know it, Mirage continues to put on a facade and acts like somebody he may not be. Will he break one day? Who knows? But this will conclude the video on who he really is, as the most tragic legend in the Apex games. Thank you all for watching, and please do not forget to leave that thumbs up and subscribe, because I'll definitely be back again with more videos for ya. Take care.